Hey, I'm Anthony Romano, and this video is going to tell you whether or not you can powerlift on keto. I'm also going to get into some other details about strength and muscle performance on keto, because a lot of people seem to think that you cannot perform optimally on keto, and this is completely wrong. And if you've seen my videos, you've seen me throw big weights up, I'm not even a powerlifter guy, but some people would consider my lifts good lifts. And that's not even my emphasis, and I also talk about sports performance. I definitely feel that over the past decade of doing keto and intermittent fasting and prolonged fasting, that my performance has become optimal from the usage of keto. So before I get into this video, I will tell you that a lot of the recommendations, the short answer here is that keto does help powerlifting performance, but for most people, perhaps indirectly. This is because getting keto adapted is going to allow you a load of other benefit, and that's what's actually going to cause the strength increase and performance increase, regardless of if you are on keto at the moment you're performing, because you get a better ability to use carbohydrate fuel as well, which you can watch my other videos to learn about. And as the last plug here, Keto Shred program is still on the launch/New Year sale. Get it at the lowest possible price before the price raises as sort of the New Year's Rezo sale, okay? RomanoKeto.com, that's my website. You can get the Keto Shred program, which is basically all of the best fat loss protocols for weight loss in general, and some very sophisticated ones that will teach you a lot more than the average fitness program will. So get that while you can. Other updates are going to come as well down the line, audiobook, things of that nature. So if you get it now at the lowest price, you'll get those eventually too. Let's get into this one. Alrighty, so the idea for this video came from a comment from Golden Potato Empire. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Emperor. So, as a side note, ignore my Francesco Totti 2005 headband I got going on right now. My hair's getting longer, and I like it. So I'm throwing the headband on. It's been a busy day. So, do I think that keto is good for powerlifting? I gave Golden Potato Empire a good answer here, but it was a great idea for a video, so thank you. Here's the answer. In general, getting keto adapted is where all of the benefit will come from. If you do keto for 2-3 weeks and then start trying to do powerlifting, you're not going to experience much benefit at all. And this is why all the studies on keto that show decrease in performance have came from people where the athletes were never given enough time to adapt. Okay, all of the performance benefits of keto, full disclosure, are going to come after you're adapted. So you can't just hop into keto. And in fact, most people quit keto because the first 3 days are really tough and you don't get any sort of enhanced benefit until weeks down the line. So the actual time this might take you is up to 4 weeks. Well, 4 weeks up to 8 weeks. So a month or two at most to get adapted and to start getting some of these fat adaptation benefits. Okay, so from there, can somebody just remain in the keto state and perform better in powerlifting or any sort of athletic endeavor? Hell yes, but there are some specific tips I'll throw in here for powerlifting, because of course you can benefit from powerlifting by getting in some extra glycogen, muscle glycogen, carb stores. Okay, now granted, you have to know that becoming keto fat adapted does not mean you're not going to have any glycogen. This is a complete myth, and you will completely deplete your liver of glycogen, but your liver is the sort of backup team, okay? Your muscle glycogen stores will still be adequately filled, and you can actually super compensate muscle glycogen. So this means you can store more in your muscles than you normally do. So right off the bat, we have a load of extra applicability here simply by accessing ketosis and then not even being in ketosis when you lift. But so realistically, even a carb state, right, a carb metabolism would be better if you had just came from a keto adapted state. Not just a regular, you're doing keto for 2 weeks, then do carbs. It's not going to work, because you're just going to tell your body that you've only done keto for a week or two, and anytime sugar's in, to just use sugar. And you're not going to get the enhanced benefits of fat usage, which keto adaptation provides, okay? It's about having that dual fuel. That's why we have two fuels on our body. Our body is meant to use both. Now, there are a lot of advanced ways to use carbohydrates in a carbohydrate metabolism, specifically looking at the digestive speed and the type of the carb. I have other videos on this. But the point is, the number one most foundational tip I can give you for improving performance in any athletic endeavor is get keto fat adapted and then use carbs to your liking. Now, there's a lot of great work on the powerlifting side of this from Mark Bell, and there's also some applicable resources you can learn from Stan Efferding, which is where I've learned some of these other performance hacks from ketogenic states and then going into carb usage. There's also great work from John Kiefer, who wrote Carb Backloading, which is literally my favorite way to incorporate carbohydrates. Carb backloading is basically you enter the keto state, and then you work out intensely because there's extra central nervous system benefit. There's extra fat burning benefit as well that come from training in the low insulin fasted keto state. Okay? And then from there, you slam a bunch of carbs of the right types post-workout. They can be junk food carbs. It doesn't matter. Watch my video on carb backloading. Just type in Romano carb backloading. You'll find it. That video is going to tell you a lot, especially about my twist on it, because I recommend that people get keto fat adapted first and then start using these carb inclusion techniques. John Kiefer's work doesn't necessarily claim that, but the guy, I mean, that's not undermining him in any way, because his work is fantastic, and he breaks this down a lot more in depth than I could in a video. So the thing is, full credit where it's due. But when we're talking about using this stuff for performance, carb backloading is a great way to do it, because especially if you train and then you're going into a big PR day the next day, you would have filled your glycogen stores up the night before, which is fantastic. And then you're going to be entering the workout in a heightened fat burning state, right? A lower insulin state after you sleep and wake up. Even if you just don't eat any carbohydrates, you will be in a lower insulin state. You don't necessarily need to fast outright for this. And if you have the keto fat adaptation, you're going to have upregulated usage of fat, free fatty acids as fuel, and ketones to the brain, and higher central nervous system activation, which comes from a low insulin state and getting keto fat adapted. So from there, then you will also have the benefit of glycogen stores being super compensated in your muscle tissue. So that is right off the bat within, the first 6 minutes of this video, one of the most powerful performance tips you could ever get. And a lot of modern, sports science resources, which I've tried to read in abundance of, they'll kind of overlook this, because granted, I'm completely ignoring right now the advanced ways to use specific types of carbs. I'm not trying to undermine that or say that it isn't applicable. But one thing that is underlooked that you should be leveraging is keto fat adaptation, then carb usage. So how this applies to powerlifting again. There are basically 3 systems that your body's going to use to fuel muscular activity in that way. You're going to have glycogen, so carbohydrates, and you're going to have the creatine phosphate system, which is basically stores of creatine, which are going to be used for, intense movements. And then you have free fatty acids. So what's going to happen is some work has shown that keto adapted athletes, even on a 1 rep max exercise, they have fueled that 1 rep with a little bit of free fatty acids as fuel. Now, I can't say exactly how much that's going to fuel you, but I can tell you that if you do get keto fat adapted, you are on the whole going to have a better ability to do high intensity exercise with free fatty acids as your primary fuel for muscle tissues. Okay, most of the ketones you make are actually going to be going to your brain at that point. So, there's still going to be some swirling around, and you're still going to have some glycogen and carbs as well, but it's all about having the optimal balance. And I recommend you look up Tim Noakes, Dr. Tim Noakes, for some other performance enhancement based research, in addition to other great sources like Dr. Stephen Finney and Jeff Volek, PhD. So, great sources as well, just so I can give some references here without having to throw up a billion studies and, not be able to post a video as often as I do. So, you can also get the Keto Shred program to see some of these studies where I reference them where necessary. So, back to the sort of creatine phosphate system, glycogen, free fatty acids. If you have an optimal ability to use all of them, granted, you're off to a great start. You can also, of course, throw in creatine. There's a lot of other benefits of that to get higher creatine amounts to use for those lifts. But again, it calls into question, hey, optimize your ability to use fats with keto and fat adaptation, then also optimize some sort of way of slipping in carbohydrates to enhance the powerlifting side of things. Now, here's where I want to add one caveat and one clarification. I do a lot of bodybuilding training. A lot of people who watch my videos, perhaps yourself, are very interested in bodybuilding training more so than powerlifting. So bodybuilding is not about lifting a 1 rep max or a 2 or 3 or 4 rep max. It's about going above that and creating hypertrophy. So granted, you don't need to do any sort of carb inclusion necessarily for any of these benefits really, because you will already maximize fat fueling if you get keto adapted and then do powerlifting. But of course, you're going to get some extra benefit from glycogen boost as well. But for bodybuilding purposes and for most athletic endeavors, keto fat adaptation is all you need, and you simply have to train your body to perform in that state. So you have to do keto for a while, and at first put up with if there's a decline in performance right off the bat, because you're not adapted yet and you have to get gradually more and more adapted. The longer you do keto, the more these benefits will show their faces. So from a bodybuilding perspective, which is what most people are interested in here, you are not going to have you don't need carbs. I want that to be clear. You do not need carbs, but you can use them in a lifestyle-oriented manner. So if you're going out on a date, for me, if I like the girl, I'll have some carbs. And then, the next day I'll get a nice workout. Okay, or maybe I just hit one earlier in the day. So that's kind of how you want to handle this, and let your lifestyle take the lead, as I say in plenty of videos. But the point is, you do not need the carbs to hit the heavy weights. And if you've actually seen my other videos, you'll see that I'm throwing up big enough weights, with no carbohydrates in my system, except for the ones my body had made endogenously through my liver, and not storing them in the liver. But the thing is, you do not need the carbs. They're simply a luxury for you, just as they were in nature, because they don't grow for half the year. In the wintertime, they do not grow. Watch the Keto Manifesto to hear me tell you that 40 times. But the point is, option 1, which is don't get keto adapted and then try to use carbs, not going to work out well for you. You're better off just staying on a carb metabolism and doing your regular powerlifting routine. Option 2, get keto fat adapted, then use carbs as your lifestyle dictates. You will experience a load of performance and benefit that way. And then option 3 is get keto adapted and maintain it because you like the way you feel with it, which is what I do, and it allows me to pump out content in between my 3 jobs, one of which I just quit. So expect more video content here. So it allows you to have the enhanced mental benefits, all these other lifestyle, longevity benefits with lower insulin over time, lower inflammatory byproducts and whatnot. So the point is, there's a load of benefit to maintaining ketosis, but you also still want to keep your body able to metabolize carbs in a very efficient manner. So the way you do this is by keto carb cycling, and the easiest way to do this is to not get meticulous and regiment the exact time the sun strikes the 4th quadrant, and then you have your carbs on a Thursday after midnight. No, you just let your lifestyle take the lead, okay? So that's the ultimate takeaway from this video. There are ways to get deeper into this, okay? So anybody who's a professional sports scientist who's looking at this and just saying that I'm not breaking down the different types of ways to use carbohydrates based on their specific type, glycemic load, and things like that, watch my other videos, okay? But the point is, this is the most foundational tip I can give you for enhancing performance, and keto will have benefits when it comes to powerlifting and bodybuilding, especially if you're, the carb strategies are particularly useful if you're going for a PR day or something like that. And I prefer a carb backload method rather than a sort of targeted keto method, targeted keto referring to carbohydrate consumption before the exercise, because you want to keep your blood glucose stable during the activity. And unless you pick the right carbohydrate types, which you can learn about in other videos, then you don't want to create this sort of blood sugar crash, because that will make you fatigue and mentally tap out. That is it for this video. Remember, Keto Shred program on rock bottom pricing for a limited time only. Get it now. And, thank you for everybody with the nice feedback on the Keto Shred program. I can't tell you how deeply that means a lot to me. And besides that, I wish to keep giving you good value in these videos in 2021. And Happy New Year as well. But leave me some questions in the comments down below. I'll do my best to get back to you. Follow me on Instagram, okay? And also, go to my website, romanoketo.com. That's it for this one. Anthony Romano, peace.